never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. I know I said on Friday that it wasn't a huge week as far as college football goes, looking at the schedule, but there's always a few games that end up being good that you didn't expect to be any good. And of course, there was. We'll talk about that coming up in a couple of minutes. First, I want to tell you that last night, SWA Wrestling 244, Livestock Road, Easton Lolly, Georgia, we had a great show as we set up for Fight Mayor coming up next month. And Fight Mayor has front row tickets all the way around the building, already sold out, but we still have plenty of seats available. Go ahead and reserve yours now. It's going to be a great show. But last night, in the lead up to Fight Mayor, we kicked off the night with Logan Bloom defeating Austin Thorne. And then we had Cade Powers defeating Josh Broner, and the debuting Levistus in a triple threat match. Jacob Ashworth and Ryan Staples was a no contest because of outside interference. And then we had Billy Starr defeating Yukon Adams. And the semi-main event of the night was a great one, and everybody that was not there missed it. It was Hot Stuff Adam Mabry against the debuting Human. And I was supposed to be the referee in that match, but Hot Stuff told me that every time I referee his matches, he gets beat. So I can no longer referee his matches. So he was getting rid of me, and he wanted another referee. But instead of getting Ref Slim or James Wilson, he gets one half of the American Dolls, Stacy Green. She refereed that match. And, of course, the other half of the American Dolls, Grace Todd, was out there with her in her corner supporting her. And during the match, Stacy Green got knocked out in the corner, and Hot Stuff handcuffed Grace and Stacy together in the corner. And Bad Jack ended up getting in the ring and finished off the match by giving Hot Stuff the 1, 2, 3. So Hot Stuff defeats Human, and we had the American Dolls handcuffed in the corner. And then the main event of the night, Curtis Coleman defeated Alex Keitel. What a great show. As I said, Fight Mayor coming up October the 8th. Front row tickets all the way around the building are already sold out, but there's still plenty of good seats available. So go ahead and get yours now. You can contact SWA on Facebook, or you can contact Bad Jack, or you can contact Stacy Green and go ahead and get your tickets. So let's talk about some college football from yesterday. Alabama defeated Texas 20-19. And I know I said on Friday that that game was not going to be close, but most people didn't think that game was going to be close. And Alabama, for the first three quarters, just looked flat out pitiful. I believe Bryce Young had 70 yards passing through 3 quarters. And I think Bama total had 170 yards of offense through 3 quarters. They just looked flat. They looked awful. They looked terrible. But all I can say is we better be careful because last year, if you recall, the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, Alabama almost lost 2 or 3 times and found a way to win every game until they eventually lost to Texas A&M, and then after that, they looked great the rest of the season. So after that scare yesterday, don't be surprised if Bama looks great the rest of the season. Texas had their chances, but they kept getting inside the red zone and had to settle for field goals instead of touchdowns. Otherwise, they would have won the game, but that's part of the game. They just could not score when they got inside the red zone. Arkansas defeated South Carolina by the score of 44-30. North Carolina, another week of no defense. They beat Georgia State by the score of 35-28. And that's the reason why I wrote that score down, because North Carolina allowed Georgia State to hang with them. I believe, if my math is correct and memory serves me correct, just doing math in my head through their first 3 games, I think the Tar Heels are giving up almost 38 points a game, but they're 3-0. Tennessee defeated Pittsburgh by the score of 34-27. And then the Cyhawk game, it looked like Iowa was going to win 7-3 for the second consecutive week. And late in the fourth quarter, Iowa State puts it in the end zone, and they take the Cyhawk trophy by defeating Iowa by the score of 10-7. And then a couple of games that nobody saw coming. Marshall defeated Notre Dame by the score of 26-21. I know before the season started, I said I felt sorry for Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman because he was getting all this hype and all this fame and all this fortune. And the only game he coached was their bowl game last year after Brian Kelly left, and they got off to a huge lead and blew it. So far, we had no proof that Marcus Freeman could coach, but yet everybody talked about how good he was. And now he's 0-3 as their head coach because they've lost their first 2 games this season. And then the one that really shocked everybody was Appalachian State defeating Texas A&M 17-14. I would like to say I was surprised, and I was a little bit surprised because I didn't think A&M was bad enough to lose to Appalachian State. But if you follow the channel, you know that I say it all the time, and I say it every year, and I'll say it again next year. If Jimbo Fisher's their coach, Texas A&M is going to be 8-4, maybe 9-3. That's what they are. Jimbo Fisher is a career 8-4 coach. That's what he does. I don't give a darn who they play. I don't give a darn how they recruit. Texas A&M is going to be 8-4, 9-3 every year. That's what they do. But I didn't think they would lose to Appalachian State, but I'm not totally surprised because it is Jimbo Fisher. Maybe by this time next year, the channel will be big enough to where when I say A&M is going to be 8-4, 9-3, somebody will hear me and they'll quit coming out in the top 10 because they are not a top 10 football team. Kentucky defeated Florida 26-16. I think that one surprised everybody because Kentucky was down to their 3rd string running back, and Kentucky is a running team. So I don't think anybody thought that if Kentucky won, they would put up 26 points. They'd win, 10-7, 13-10, but no, they won 26-16. So after Florida's impressive win last week, they did not score at all in the whole second half last night against Kentucky. And then USC defeated Stanford by the score of 41-28. BYU, in what I said would be the game of the weekend, defeated Baylor in double overtime by the score of 26-20. And then a couple of other games that is surprising to everybody looking at the score was Washington State defeated Wisconsin 17-14. And then Nebraska lost to Georgia Southern by the score of 45-42. So Scott Frost might as well go ahead and pack his things now, because if he doesn't get fired this year, then there's no rhyme and no reason because all the other coaches before him have had more success than him and they got fired. And he's done nothing and he's still there. And all we heard in the offseason was how they were going to look so much better. And so far, they don't. So obviously, it was not the offensive coordinator. It was not Adrian Martinez because Adrian Martinez is at Kansas State now, and they're off to a 2-0 start. They looked good yesterday against Missouri, even though Missouri's horrible. But Nebraska now has a culture, and their culture is they suck. And this is what I think should be the top 10. It won't be. We know if Alabama doesn't lose, they're not falling. But this is what the top 10 should look like. Because in my opinion, these in order are the best 10 teams in the country right now. And that is Georgia, number 1. Ohio State, number 2. Clemson, number 3. Michigan, number 4. Alabama, number 5. USC, 6. Oklahoma, 7. Oklahoma State, 8. NC State, 9. And Wake Forest, 10. I'm sorry, but Alabama has no business being number 1. You can't go out there and play Texas, and Texas had a backup quarterback, and you win by 1 point against an unranked team. I don't care that you went to their place. It's not like it was a night game. It was a noon Eastern game, so it was 11 o'clock Central. So it was 11 o'clock for Alabama and 11 o'clock for Texas. And you went out there and you just looked flat out pitiful. And it was nothing Texas did. Texas did not do anything offensively that was impressive. They had the most boring, mild game plan ever, but yet they hang with Alabama because Alabama's offense looked absolutely pitiful. So you can't go out there and play Texas in a noon game on the road and win by 1 point and still be the number 1 team in America. So in my opinion, they should fall to 5 behind Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, and Michigan. And of course, Notre Dame lost, so they're out of the top 10. And Texas A&M lost, so they're out of the top 10. And I believe Wisconsin was 14th, and they lost, so they sure can't jump into the top 10. That's my thoughts on all the college football action from yesterday and SWA last night. If you missed it, you missed a great show. Well, let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I accidentally drank a bottle of invisible ink last night. I'm in the hospital now, waiting to be seen. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.